Hello and welcome to this edition of Elvenhome, which concentrates on work that I'm doing in two areas of the layout to develop the scenery. One, Station Road. You'll see the completion of the work there on the houses and putting them into position and lighting them. And the other, I start some work which I'll come on to in a few seconds to replace an existing building with a newer model. I had intended that you'd see the complete build of this next section, but there was so much material that I've held a bit over to next week, or in a fortnight's time. So let's get on with looking at an area of the layout that I really like from the work that I've done. That sounds terribly conceited, but I do really like it. And some changes that I want to make. Well, here we are in a part of the layout that I've not worked on for some time. This is the Church of St Eldar, which sits up at Grey Havens, and came about some considerable time ago when I was on holiday soon after I'd retired, and the idea of building this whole area up here came to me. This was not part of the original plan for Elvenhome, but is one of the parts of the layout that I like the most. However, there's one thing always been niggling at me. This is a Metcalfe church, and it's a great church, and it's the original version, or one of the original versions. It's now been superseded by a more modern version of the church, and it's one of the first kits that I ever built when I was waiting for the baseboards to arrive. And although I did a reasonable job on it, I know that it's not brilliant. And indeed, in some places, there is light leakage. Those of you that have been following me for a while will know that I've had problems with the light that's inside. And if I turn the light on, I suspect you won't even notice the difference. The original light blew on me, which meant I had to remove the church, and I fitted a new light, which then also went out. And the next time I just put a replacement light in the space, but not fitted it into the roof in the way that I had done originally, which means that although the lights are on in the church, you struggle to see that they are unless it's really very dark. So the fact that it's not perfectly built and that the lighting isn't absolutely brilliant has been niggling at me for some while. And I've just noticed that actually that's bent as well. So I am going to replace this church. And what you're going to see over this video and next is the replacement of the church, and such adjustments to the layout of the churchyard of St Eldar as I need to undertake once I remove the church. The replacement, which you'll see shortly, has a very similar footprint, but it's not identical. And I think blending in the new church will be quite interesting. So what I'm going to do now is take you to the start of me working on the new church and show you the new church and the process that I'll go through to paint it before I start installing. Installation and all the scenic work will be in the next video in a couple of weeks' time. So let's go now to me working on the building of the replacement for St Eldar Church. Okay, here you can see the constituent parts of the Petite Properties St Thomas's Church. If I show you a picture of what the completed church is meant to look like, I just think that's a bit different. As I've already explained, the church that's on the layout is an older version of the Metcalfe kit, which has since been updated. And the Metcalfe church appears on lots of layouts. So I'd like something a bit different, and it will also give me the opportunity properly to light this church. I'm not going to show you me building this. It's pretty straightforward to put it together. The instructions in all the Petite Properties kits are very good. I've laid it out pretty much in the order in which things go on. But what I am going to do specifically is follow the instructions in the kit for the painting and weathering of the kit using some of the Petite Properties paints, which I've specifically bought. The guidance is that you complete the build up to the point that you need to put the roofs and the glazing and then the roofs on, and then you paint all the exterior, and then you paint the roofs, put the glazing in, and put it all together finally. So I'll come back once I've had the fun of building the carcass and show you what it looks like at that point. In the last video, I mentioned that I was waiting for some things to arrive. One of them was some more of the iron railing fencing, so I could complete the iron railings along the edge of the raised area, and that also has arrived. But the most important thing was two of these kits, the low relief shop type 1 laser cut kit from In the Greenwood Laser. I've looked at their products for quite some time, and I'm really impressed by the look and range of things that they do. So I was pleased when I saw something that I thought might be able to go in to complete the look of what will be Station Road. Now, this is how the kit arrives, just straight off the laser. And I've had an enjoyable time today painting up the kits and building one of them. Ta-da! So this is what this kit looks like once it's made up. As you can see, I've painted it first a very deep grey underneath and then a much lighter grey on top, which I've washed away to give the kind of weathered stone effect. I haven't yet put any windows in, but I am going to make those opaque. I'm not intending to light this. These kits do go together very well, but they are wood, and I think you would have a little bit of work to do to stop light bleed from where the pieces of wood join together. Not impossible, and certainly the deluxe plastic putty that I've mentioned to you would be perfect for that sort of job. But I'm going to put glass in and then put in the Woodland Scenic's light diffuser, which I think will be fine. I may put the film in as well so that it looks properly dark from the outside. So that's the first one. The second one I haven't yet made up because I wanted to show you it in its component parts. If I just bring you here, excuse me, I'm going to move you bodily. There you go. So you'll see there's not that many parts to it. That's obviously the base, and you start by sticking the two sides on and then putting the top wall across, making sure that you butt this edge right up to the top. Then you can fit in the door, which if I just show you, slots in here with two side walls. That then allows you to fit this piece in, which helps hold the whole of this centre section together. Then you can just put these two pieces on at the front and you're pretty much there then, because the next thing to do is you stick on the roof. I then put on the barge boards, and finally I've already stuck these come in two separate pieces. If I show you there, that's obviously the chimney breast, and the chimney breasts have a slot which slots into the top of the roof, and there you get your shop. So I'm just debating whether I try to put anything in the shop windows, because I could easily put something in the windows and then put something behind so you can't see further into the shop, but I'm debating with that. So by the time I finish putting all of these together and it's on the layout, you'll see whether I've just gone for a straight blank window or whether I have tried to do anything by way of a shop front there. I'll see how things go. So the only other thing to show you is the next stage. This is the shortest piece. I've cut the newest piece of the fencing. It was then all primed grey, and then this morning I masked up the grey side either here and here for all of the lengths of the fencing, and painted it a gloss black, which has come out rather well, and I'm rather pleased with that. So the fencing is all ready to go on. I've also weathered up the walling, which I couldn't get to come in focus last time, but is now. So that's going to be the walling that will sit. That was the original grey colour. It's a browny grey. That's all ready to done. So I'm pretty ready to start assembling the whole thing once I've got all these pieces done. So the only other thing I've got to decide upon is what sort of paving I'm going to have. I think it would be flagstones, but I don't want to use the Metcalfe flagstones because it's all a bit samey. So I'll have a hunt around, probably on railmodeler.com, and see what variations of flagstones I can get, because they would look quite old, so I don't want anything too modern looking. So let's see what I can come across, and then we can start putting together Station Road and getting the lighting in and getting it into its position to allow scenic work to be done on either side. Well, here we are with the completed church, and I'm already really liking the overall look of the church. It didn't take very long to do. The basic structure was pretty much there within about an hour and a half's work. I did it in a couple of goes, but it was all done yesterday evening. The trickiest parts were cutting these bands that act as detail around the tower, and obviously fitting the individual windows and the clock face. The roof is going to have some Reductex, or Redutex, sorry, I keep calling it Reductex, Redutex roof slates. I've bought a different type of roof slate for that, so I'll show you that later. But none of the roofing or the doors are yet fitted, because the next thing is to paint it. And this is the base coat, which the whole thing will be painted in. The instruction then is to stipple in this, particularly around edges and around the base. And then you let everything dry. So I will get on with that task and come back once that's finished before I do the final piece of work, which is to use another colour to distress it slightly on the outside, and we'll see how that looks. So I'll come back to you once all this is painted up and dry. Well, I'm guilty of having too much fun and forgetting to do some filming. I think I promised you that I would come back once I'd put the base coat on, but in fact I've pretty much completed doing the detailing of the church. This is the first time I've ever tried anything like this, I have to say. I'm pleased with the outcome, otherwise it would all be repainted in the base coat. The base coat is this dirty stone mortar. And it took 2 coats of that really to cover everything, particularly the wooden pieces which make up the buttresses, and to get everything looking sort of similar. Then it was a case of stippling over the soot ash colour, which is a dark grey, and that I really did panic at that point because it looked as though I'd ruined it. Leave all that to dry, then stipple over some dirty stone paint, which I did. I then decided to do another stippling of sooty ash, because in places I'd been a bit keen with the lighter beige colour, and I had just great blobs of it rather than a stippling effect. And then I've used 3 weathering powders, smoke, black and earth, I think dark earth, to go over the building as well, to knock back all the colours and to try to blend them in. To give you the idea of a stone church that's been around, taken out of shot, a stone church that's been around for some time. I decided to paint the porch red because my abiding memory, particularly of Victorian churches to be fair, but my abiding memory of churches is that the porch is usually some kind of tile, and red tile is an easy colour to keep clean. I'm now working on the hip roof, which is here. The instructions are to fit some wire, and this is what I'm doing here. Put this into focus. This is some thin copper jewellery wire, which I'm just fitting the pieces on first of all, and then I'll let all that dry. I've got a few more pieces to put on, and then to put a piece of tissue paper, paint it in PVA, tissue paper over the top, and push the tissue paper so it goes into all the crevices, and then it will get painted a lightish grey colour. I suspect I may even use the roof carriage white, which doubles up for all sorts of useful colours, just to paint all that, and then I can put the roof into here. I mentioned that I'd got some Redutex for the church, for the tiling. If I bring this in here and try and get it to focus, yes, there we go, hurrah, even if I put it the right way up and get it to focus. So I went for a different style, a rounded dark grey, which I think is more in keeping with what you'd find on a church. and that too has been fitted on, and I've weathered it up a bit, maybe a bit too much. We'll see when it goes on. That can always be taken back a little if I need to. The only thing I'm still not sure about, let me put that back in focus, is whether the stained glass windows that come with the kit are strong enough. And I can't make, they're rather nice and I'd like to use them, but I am just a little worried that they're a bit weedy. It may be that I've just got a light print. I think I'd like them to be a bit bolder. So it's possible I may decide to go with the stained glass material, let's get it out the packet, that I used for the school. Oh, you decided to go out of focus. That was most unkind of you. Which is this stuff. And now that's not as defined, but it may look better with light behind it. So I'm going to have to experiment a little there to make up my mind which of the two that I put on. So what I'm going to do is complete the work of building this now, and all that is left to do is to put in the doors, which have been painted with the Humbrol wood paint that comes up everywhere, finish this roof and detach that, and then put the roofs on for the two side aisles, the centre aisle, and the nave and the chancellery. So I'll complete all of that, and I'll come back once this is a finished model. Hello and welcome to Two to Watch, my regular series where I showcase two other N-Gage layouts that I enjoy watching, and which I hope you will enjoy watching once you've subscribed to these channels. The first channel this week is Mark Island's Piddle in the Marsh. Now I have a particular reason to thank Mark for his help, because he suggested I use the power distribution boards to help in wiring various buildings and the lights in them around the layout. The boards are capable of being set either to run 12 volt or 3 volt lights, and therefore save the need for fitting resistors for the lower rated lights, and they also have a dimmer switch. Mark's layout has been growing over the last few years, and growing is the operative word. You will, I'm sure, really enjoy looking at Mark's layout and seeing the trains running through the scenery, which has been beautifully done. The track layout provides constant interest with the way the trains run through and then double back and appear from somewhere else. From the original design, the layout has been extended and further extended. As Mark says himself, that more has happened than was planned with regards to the village. If you watch, you will see houses and the church keep moving around. In preparing Two to Watch, I went back and took a look at episode 1, where he showed 3 trains running on the newly wired layout. If you compare that to the masterpiece you will see in the latest video, you will see how much this layout has developed, and I'm sure will keep on developing. One of the things Mark is particularly good at is lighting his layout. Some of the night running shots that he gets on his layout are very atmospheric. The locomotives you'll see are very Western region, from GWR Steam, Maroon Westerns to BR Blue, including most recently 2 beautiful Pullman sets, one in blue and one in the Western region reverse BR livery. The layout provides a really good mix of locomotives, some wonderful scenic work, a very clever track plan and excellent lighting. I hope you'll go across and have a good look at Mark's layout if you've not already come across it, and subscribe to him, because it's a beautiful layout, and I think the only thing that will limit the size of this layout is the room in which it's being built, although he may of course own a TARDIS. The other layout which I'm going to talk about today gives you 3 for the price of 1. This is Mini Wistaston Junction, Rachel Cope's layout. Rachel builds layouts at the most amazing rate of speed. Her principal layout is an N-Gage layout, Mini Wistaston Junction, which has lots of modern traction. You'll very quickly realise that Freightliner is the train operating company of choice on the railway. The layout was recently extended to double its length, so that it is now 10 foot by 3 foot with 2 main loops, a Freightliner depot, a main station, among other things. It has been built very quickly over the last few months to a fully operating layout with a significant amount of scenic work also done, and Rachel is just starting in the move to making it DCC. In addition to the N gauge layout, Rachel has recently started to build a double O gauge layout. Rachel's is the first channel that I have mentioned where the owner also streams live via YouTube. I've found it great fun to join her live streams and take part in the discussions that take place. Her live streams sort of fall into three categories. Rachel enjoys getting out along the West Coast Main Line to see real trains in action, particularly if it can involve some Freightliner locomotives pulling some freight trains. She also regularly streams just for a chit-chat while either trains run or we watch her completing a model or two for the layout. Finally, she has braved wind and rain to document the departure and arrival of a number of steam rail tours at Crewe. There is a good discussion among those who follow the live chat with much good humour. There is, however, the heart-stopping moment when she runs from one end of platform 11 at Crewe to the other to get that vital shot of the steam locomotive being uncoupled to go into the Heritage Centre. I find I'm holding my breath as she pelts down the platform, and so by the time she arrives breathless at the other end, I'm pretty blue in the face also. It is well worth following Rachel's layout, not least because the live streams are interesting, but also just to see the layout as it develops. I suggest you go along to subscribe to her channel, and who knows, we may meet in the chat during one of the live streams. As ever, I will put links in the description below for both of these layouts so that you can check them out after this video. And that brings Two to Watch to an end for this episode. Well, here you can see Station Road. It's now in position. The two shops, the houses have been lit as I intended them to be. If I can just get this to go, that's better. And let's move it like that. You can see that if I come down a bit, the railings are in and the paving's on. In the end, I decided on using ordinary paving for along the front, and I actually used the paint from the Petite Properties kit, the dark stone, went over that and then weathered it as well, so that gives me a paved area all the way along Station Road up to the loo at the end. There's more work to be done here, but this now completes the work of doing all the properties, painting them and installing them. I decided against lighting the shops, really on the basis that the shops wouldn't be lit in the evening. I don't think. This is a little village more than a big urban area. So I saw no point trying to light those, and there were problems with light leakage from the sides, which all could be fixed, except that of course the idea is this can be removed if needs be. So I can't really stick them to the backboard because that would defeat the whole object for the way that I've created it. So we're now beginning to get a good idea of what Station Road will look like, which will come down here, and then it will curve round to this big vacant area here, which is where the village of High Elven itself is going to sit. That has yet to be decided upon in terms of plan and what will be there, not least because I can't yet find any kits that I like the look of to create the buildings. So I will carry on searching. I don't want Metcalfe kits, I've decided. Nothing against Metcalfe kits, there are loads of Metcalfe kits there. But I do think this village needs to look a bit different to the rest of the layout, which probably means that if I'm going to build the village here and I can't find kits that I want, I'm going to have to do some scratch building. And that will be quite entertaining because that will be quite a lot of building. So I do need to do some urban planning or village planning as to what I'm going to put into that space. But that will be for another day. But this now really is coming to be, I think, what's in my mind, what I wanted when I started to think about putting the village of High Elven with its little station and goods yard on this area of the layout. That pretty much, I think, concludes what has been quite a busy building episode for the layout this week. If you've liked the video, please do give it a thumbs up. That's really helpful. And if you haven't subscribed already, well, please do subscribe and hit the bell notification, because it'd be lovely to have you along for the remainder of the build, and there's quite a lot of work to be done in terms of scenic work on the layout. And I think what I probably will do next time, for those who've subscribed more recently, is give you a quick tour of the layout to explain the various parts of Elvenhome, and High Elven indeed, which is what you see before you. So if you've got any comments, of course, please do leave your comments. I really enjoy getting the comments and responding to them. And some of the ideas that have come from there have been absolutely instrumental in the way the layout looks. So I'm always grateful to receive comments. But until I speak to you again in about a couple of weeks' time, that's bye-bye from me. Bye-bye.